The BBC being racist again. What are they like? See, the BBC's pursuit, cringy, obvious pursuit for diversity, is just like many. Like if you go down this path, it always comes back to bite you on your fucking ass. It's better just to do stuff based on merit and stop having like diversity quotas, which the BBC do have. They do have diversity quotas, and it's just the backlash from it, because you can't when you start going down that kind of route. I don't think you just can't really win. Do you know what I mean? When you're trying to appease everybody, when you're trying to do something for everybody, it's like, why don't you do something that appeals to everybody instead of like, this appeals to them, this appeals to them, they'll like this, they'll like this. Once you get to a situation like with the Crazy Rich Asians thing, where they're like, oh, it bombed in China, but it's full of Asians. Why? It's like, because they're Chinese. There's billions of them. They don't need American Chinese. Like, what the fuck what is wrong with you? The only American films fucking Chinese are like big dumb blockbusters. They don't want your bullshit rom-com. They don't care about that. They don't care if there's Chinese people in it. They just want stuff that they like. Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, come on. You know, I totally understand the whole thing about, you know, you want to see, we'd like to have role models that, it's very important to have role models that kind of look like us and sound. I had this thing when I was a kid. I was always searching for, you know, I mean, for weird shit. Like, I used to really like, I still do, I used to read Clive Barker novels when I was real young. But I remember when I found out he was gay and it bothered me. This is when I was like 12. Because I'm not gay. And I was like, well, I can't identify with someone who's gay as much as, I don't know, you get weird shit in your head when you're young. You just want someone who's exactly like you. You know, so if you're a straight white male, you want to look up to a straight white male. You know, if you're a gay Sri Lankan woman, then maybe you want to look up to a gay Sri Lankan woman. I can dig it. But I think as you get older, you just look up to people who sound like. I don't think you need to have people that look exactly like you. But maybe for children, you know, maybe, I don't know, or maybe it doesn't matter at all. Maybe that's just, you know, people with a bigoted brain like myself when I was 12. Who knows? Maybe I just had internalized depression. Who knows? I was 12. But the point is, I think you just need to make stuff that appeals to, just make good stuff. And if people go for it, they go for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of the thought process of like that little girls, like with this whole Captain Marvel fiasco. It's like they think little girls need to have a poster of a superhero that's a girl on their wall. Like that's what they need. They want that. No, little girls have posters of fucking One Direction on their wall and shit like that. You know. Do you see what I'm saying? That's like, and it's always been like that. My sisters had posters of Bros on their wall. They didn't have posters of Wonder Woman. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think they've really missed the mark on what young people like and what they want. That's just a little rant before we get into this silly little story. So CBBC sitcom, now I don't know, like a sitcom for children isn't going to be good anyway. So why should we care? You know, who makes a sitcom for children? Ridiculous. CBBC sitcom. This is good shit. About British Chinese family accused of racism. So, you know, they've gone out of their way to do something for the Chinese community, and they've fucked it. That's the story. Critics say scripts for Living with the Lambs contain a litany of Orientalist cliches. Don't think that's a word you're allowed to use. An upcoming BBC children's sitcom that focuses on a British Chinese family has been marred by accusations of racism. A group representing British East Asians in the film and TV industry said that it was indefensible that the show should have been developed and written with little input from writers and creatives from the community. And it's not the first time the BBC have done this kind of thing before. There was a show called... Oh, fuck me, what was it called? But it was like a black sitcom, basically. I think it ran for two... It may have made a third series, but I don't remember. It was set in South London. The dad in it was like a train driver, and it had Danny John Jules, who was the cat of Red Dwarf, was in it as well, and he was like his mate, who also was a train driver. They're like tube drivers. Can't remember what it was called. But you know, it was a black. Basically, the whole idea of it, the USP was it was a black sitcom. Forgetting the fact that we had Desmond, so we all had the thing where it's a US. You know, you can't have the USP as something that's been done, because like something is ahead of its time if it's the first time it's been done. So like, goodness gracious me, Indian Asian based comedy sketch show. Okay, well that hadn't been done before. Same with the Real McCoy, which is a black sketch show. It was on Channel 4. That hadn't been done before. Desmond's black sitcom in the UK. That hadn't been done before. Right, when it's the first time, that can be a USP. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. If it's the first, you know, all lesbian dating show, you can use that as a USP. That's absolutely fine. Saying if you went to you went to all balls out African country where they had no white people, never, and you had the first all white TV show on it, and you could call it that. First all white TV show we've had here. All right, cool. But not if it's been done before. You need more than that. You can't just have that. Do you know what I mean? It's like when the USP is gone, you need something new. And they didn't have it. It's like, oh, we'll just do a black thing. It's like, what do you mean just do a... You know what I mean? It's so insulting. It's like, oh, we need a black thing. No, you just need a thing. That's good. And if there's black people in it, great. But the thing was, the first series of this... I wish I could remember what it... Alright, I'll Google it. I know Danny John Jules was in it, so we can work through that. Danny John Jules. I know he was in it. He hasn't done that much in his career. Bless him. Or maybe he has, I don't know. So was he film? No, TV. Television. Career, so... Yeah, oh, he's in Maid Marian as well, wasn't he? Oh, yeah. Well, you know, he done two good... See, there was a children's sitcom, actually. That was kind of that Maid Marian was actually a really good show. It was really funny. Like, for a kiddies thing. Alright, fair. Alright, okay. Was it Rise? Was he in that? Comedy? No. What's Rise? No. Oh, yeah, Rise was it? No. The Tomorrow People. Who's in that? Oh, God, Ka-ching. See, that was a cringy thing that they did. Oh, God, Ka-ching. The Crouches is a sitcom. Oh, I think this is it, The Crouches. Starring Rudolph Walker. Who's he? Oh, he's black. Oh, yeah, that's fucking... What's his name? From EastEnders. Robbie G. Joe. This is it. Roy works. Yeah, London Underground, Lambeth North. This is it. Alright, it was called The Crouches. And it was a black thing. But the problem was, the first series... Sorry, it took me a long way to get around this. The first series was written... it was white writers. Yeah, so white writing stuff. And they're like, well, no, we need this to be authentically black. And it wasn't very funny, so they sacked them off, and then they brought in some black writers. And it still wasn't funny, I don't think. So they just ended it. But, you know, the point was, it's like, it's just so lazy. It's going, we'll just do a black thing. No, it's not like there was someone black who'd written something about stuff they know, you know. I'm black, I'm from South London. This is the black South London experience condensed into a comedy script. Here it is. No, they're like, we need to create something black. You, Tarquin and Josephine, you write this script. Have you been to Lambeth? Once. Right, well, you know, take a... Do you know what I mean? BBC, what happened to you? So, the CBBC series Living with the Lambs is about a family that runs a restaurant in Manchester. Oh, there you go. Well, what else are Chinese people in the UK going to do? Eh? Apart from run a Chinese restaurant. Eh? Members of the British East Asians working in theatre and screen, or Beats, have seen this. I don't know. Have seen scripts that they say perpetuate racial stereotypes and contain a litany of Orientalist cliches. Now, what they could be. Now, obviously, everyone's super triggered these days, so it could be very minor, or you never know, it could be super, super duper big. I'd like, if it's super duper duper big, it'd be way more funny, and we need to see it, basically. I want to see this. More than 100 Beats members have signed an open letter to the BBC and the production company 2020 to complain that the enlisting of a Chinese writer as a cultural consultant had been insufficient. So they've enlisted a Chinese writer as a cultural consultant, but that's not enough. So they couldn't. So this is the thing. I mean, who did the Chinese community demand they get a children's sitcom? No, they didn't, right? Did the BBC decide that the Chinese community needed to be represented in a children's sitcom? I think they did. Now, they couldn't find anyone that had written a sitcom that was Chinese, because, how big is the Chinese population of Britain? How many of them are writers? How many of them are good writers? Okay, so they decided, right, we need someone to write this. Oh, but no. But we need to get it right. So we'll bring in a consultant. But that's not good enough. And you should have known it wasn't good enough. Because why are you doing this in the first place? If you wanted to do something interesting about the Chinese community in the UK, I mean, there's plenty of interesting stories from history about the Chinese. Look at Limehouse in East London was the original Chinatown. It's not there's no Chinese really there anymore. But there's interesting stories going on there. Hell, I know it's not really a positive thing, but it's there was a guy called Brilliant Chan. He's a massive drug dealer. Back in the day, he used to rule he ruled Limehouse. He was a big player in London gangland culture in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Brilliant Chan. And back then, Chinese were really sought after by white women. They loved Chinese boys, and they had control on the opium trade around those areas. There's some really interesting stories. I know that's not really suitable for a CBBC sitcom, but I'm just saying there's some interesting shit that happened with the Chinese community, as small as it is in this country. That's just the stuff I know about. I just know about crime and shit. Fucking blow me. I'm just saying they just, the BBC went all balls out and said, well, we need diversity stuff, and they fucked it. It says widespread concerns about the script were ignored or dismissed, and that established British East Asian writers were told they were too inexperienced to be involved in the show. I think that'd be fair enough. Well, at least they're doing something. It's fucking hell. The BBC commissioned Coming of Age years ago. That was written by someone who's actually 16 or 17, and you could tell it was. It was fucking terrible. Just go look it up. Coming of Age, BBC sitcom. It is fucking diabolical. And it was written by an inexperienced kid writer. At least they've learned from their mistakes to get inexperienced writers to write their bullshit. So signatories to the letter include actors David Yip and Jessica Henwick, and the American playwright David Henry Hwang. A spokesperson for Beats... I've never heard of none of them people. So the spokesperson said, we felt we could take a risk where writers could not. We had nothing to lose and everything to gain in writing this. When Beats saw the scripts, that sealed it for us, the spokesperson said. They were clearly the product of not using the right voices to make the show. The group was keen to stress that it did not want the show to be cancelled. Oh, they want the show. It is calling for the BBC in 2020 to work with the British East Asians in industry to create a series that is truly progressive in its representation of British East Asian family life because it succeeds in humanising them. Humanising? What a thing to say. like when do we not humanize people? That's interesting words. Spokesman said the world needs to be exposed to a realistic, nuanced, and normalized representation of British East Asian people growing up. Right? BBC spokesperson. Right. The world needs to be exposed. The world needs to be exposed to a realistic, nuanced, and normalized representation of British East Asian people growing up. One arrogant position to have. I think it's like what the world needs to know. It's like, does the world care? There's many like. Well, then the world needs to know about French East Asians growing up then as well, doesn't it? It's like, what are you talking about? Why are you so special? I don't know. It's been hyperbolic. Ignore me. So we're really proud of our track record in making diverse and culturally relevant output for our young audience. Yeah, I mean, look at Ka-Ching. That was about a young black boy who clearly didn't have a job, but somehow had loads of money when he was at school because he was a hustler. Fantastic. Wonderful. All made at the height of black-on-black gun crime. Well done, BBC, for that one. That was really good. We believe they deserve the best, which is why we work hard to find the most talented writers and producers to create the most entertaining and engaging shows. Yeah, you say that, but are you doing... There's a conflict. There's a lot of conflicts going on here, because I swear they're not doing that. On the one hand, the BBC have even said, like, we don't want scripts submitted, like new scripts submitted by white males. They've actually stated this. Like, they just look into it. Like, the BBC are very clear on what they want, okay, and what they're trying to put forward. But yet, they want to make a Chinese sitcom for children, which is very fucking niche, I have to say. How many Chinese... I was like, well, who's this for? Is it for the Chinese or is it for everybody? Because that's what you got to work out. At the end of the day, who is stuff for? Who are you making stuff for? And who is asking for it? That's all you need to know. Who are they making stuff for? Because I swear they're just making it for themselves. I don't think they're making this for the public. I don't think they're making this for the They're not making this for the Chinese, and they're not making this for the public, for people that ask for it. They're just showboating. They're just going, look at our diversity. It's just cringy. Their reasons for doing it are so... There's that word I can't remember. Their reasons for doing it are not good. That's my opinion. I do not believe in them. The reasons for them doing it's for them. It's purely for them. It's not for young Chinese. It's not for the Chinese community. It's not for the East Asian community. It's not for anybody else. It's for them. This is just for them, to make them feel better. To make them think, oh, look what we did. No, it's because it's not like who asked. The thing is, who asked for it, and who's it for, and who wanted it. How does it benefit people? And was it, we sort out. It's like, it's bit them on the arse. They're like, well, we need Chinese scripts by Chinese writers, and they worked out that there's not enough. You limit yourselves. It's like, oh, okay, we couldn't get any, so what? We couldn't get no scripts by any Chinese writers that were any good, so we got some non-Chinese people to write it and consulted with a Chinese writer who wasn't good enough to write for the show, probably, because they didn't take him on as a writer, this consultant. But you can tell these non-Chinese people what goes down and guide them, and they'll come up with the wacky, because a Chinese sitcom aimed at children. What kind of jokes are they going to have in it that anyone's going to, you can see that going really badly. Do you know what I'm saying? Think of all the puns to do with Chinese food that there are. I guarantee there's a lot in there. You can just picture how cringily bad it would be. And even with, Now, I didn't come up with this one, but, Dim sum. You know who I'm... If you're watching this, you know I'm referencing you. Dim sum. What, you're crap at maths? Like, I could just see that because it's for children. And sitcoms these days that are aimed at adults are fucking really retarded and really babyish. Like, just really insulting to the intelligence. Made by the BBC as well. So imagine what one for children's like. Well, who knows? Maybe it's better, but you can imagine how cringy and shit it's going to be. And imagine the jokes that are in that thing. And they say, full of Orientalist. What was it? A litany of Orientalist cliches. You can just imagine how bad it is. But maybe the Chinese writer that's consulting on it was like going, oh yeah, that's pretty clever. Because he's a crap writer. Because maybe they just haven't got enough Chinese people in the country to have good Chinese writers. That's just the thing that had happened. We haven't even got... Look, the majority of this country is like, it's 87% white, alright? Okay? And judging by everything that's come out of the last few years that's been written by white people in this country, we haven't even got so you got the white majority, and none of them are good at fucking writing. So how the hell do you expect to find any decent Chinese writers in this country? Like, the majority of the country are shit at writing, and you're limiting yourself. What's the percentage of Chinese people in this country? It's very small. Right, you want to find some good writers amongst that? Can't even find writers amongst the fucking majority. I'm the best writer in this goddamn country. Do you know what I'm saying? It's fucking, the BBC aren't looking for talent. They're not looking for good stuff. They're just trying to tick their silly boxes. And it's come around and bit them on the ass. You can imagine how cringy this show is. We always seek guidance, advice, and expert input for culturally sensitive content. Brilliant. We're still in the development stages of Living with the Lambs, and so the editorial process is ongoing. We do not appoint comedy writers or producers based solely on their cultural affiliations or nationality, but we're confident that we'll create a show that successfully reflects and celebrates this community. That's some bullshit. You recruit plenty of people behind the scenes based on cultural affiliations and diversity. Just go look up BBC. Just go look it up. They do. They're cringy. BBC are cringe. I always said it. No one was worried about the BBC being racist. We were worried about you encouraging kiddie fuckers. That's what concerned everybody, was the amount of paedophiles that worked there. We weren't really concerned about any racism or that there was too many white people. Really, we're concerned about children getting buggered by people on your payroll and you covering it up. That was people's concerns. You don't need to make cringy comedies for children set in Chinese restaurants. It keeps coming to me, like, the amount of jokes to do with Chinese food that are probably in that show. Oh god, man, they should just can it, because it's going to be terrible. You know, it's going to be fucking terrible. Like, what else can be said? It's going to be awful. Let's just how about we just boycott it? Not because it's culturally insensitive, but because it's going to be fucking shit. Can we just boycott stuff because it's shit now? You know what I mean? Can we start doing that? Let's stop being told we need to like something because of these various pointers to shame us into liking something. You know? No, you've got, like, if you didn't like Black Panther, you're racist. Or if you didn't like that bullshit Ghostbusters remake, you're a sexist. It's like, no, stop making... I hate to compare Black Panther and Ghostbusters. I mean, I don't like comic book movies, but from what I heard, Black Panther's a decent comic book film, like blockbuster. I just don't like them kind of films. You know? It's not my kind of thing. But I understand it's not... You can't... You know, I don't like to compare shit films to films that I just wouldn't like. That's not fair. Because the Ghostbusters remake, I tried to watch it. I genuinely tried. I made 40 minutes, which apparently is pretty good. 40 minutes is pretty good, I've heard. Some people didn't get 10 minutes in. Yeah, 40 minutes was enough, and I was like, really? That's 40 minutes I could have spent with loved ones who are no longer in my life no more. And it made me cry. That I'd wasted such precious time on such pieces of shit. You know? So can we stop being encouraged to have to like stuff? Because I'm not generally talking about this thing. It's just this whole fucking thing they keep doing. And it's like, look, let's stop being told to like stuff because we're supposed to like it because of oppression or whatever the fuck it is. Can we boycott stuff that's shit because it's shit? Like, can we just do that? And when something is genuinely good, then let's sing its praises. But stop just forcing stuff upon us, because people will start boycotting stuff that might genuinely be good. But because you thrust all this nonsense at people, and something that might be genuinely good, gets fucked over because of that, because of the backlash. We don't want a backlash to fuck shit up, because eventually the amount of backlash that's coming at stuff recently, it's gonna, even though they keep pushing against it anyway, but it's gonna, the Captain Marvel is the latest thing. You had Wrinkle in Time and Ghostbusters remake and fucking, the only reason Black Panther didn't suffer, because there was a little bit of bit of hoo-ha about Black Panther, but no one, it wasn't too bad as compared to others. But the reason that survived it is because it's part of like a machine that does well, that consistently makes watchable films that make a lot of money, whereas other films were just genuine pieces of shit, but they were bigging up the message rather than the fucking, it was all about this message. Oh, you have to support this because of the message. It's like, no, it's fucking shit, but the messenger talks crap, so fuck off. What I'm saying is it's backfiring, and Hollywood are gonna stay away from it. Whereas Hollywood, should do stuff with a little bit more substance. But there's no substance in what they're doing. Like, Captain Marvel isn't going to empower women. It's a fucking stupid. It's a superhero for God's sake. It's just it's a film that you have to lose all your sensibilities. That's what these films are for. You have to a suspension of belief. You have to just lose yourself in it. So go, okay, well, this blatant is nonsense, but it's not there to fucking empower people, for goodness sake. What is wrong with you? It's like saying Batman is going to empower introverts. It's like, no, it's not. For goodness sake. What's Spider-Man supposed to do? Empowered schoolboys with aspirations of being journalists. For goodness sake, pull yourself together, would you? Stop telling us that stuff is fucking great and we need to support it when it's shit. Let's just constantly call out stuff for being shit. If it's shit, it's shit. Otherwise there's going to be a backlash against it, and genuinely good things are not going to get made. Because, because of this bullshit they're pushing on people. You wouldn't want that to be the case, where Hollywood wouldn't make something with an all-black cast that was potentially, hear me out, that was potentially really good, because there was a backlash of them trying to shove these things down people's throats, and eventually there was a backlash because Hollywood will go where the money is. At the moment, they seem to be not caring about money, weirdly, and just trying to shove down stuff down people's throat. But you wouldn't want that to happen. You wouldn't want to, where the backlash is so strong against anything that might have a message in it or a diversity element in it, where they wouldn't make it no more, because that could happen. Because this stuff is starting to bite people on the ass, and you don't want that to happen. You want them just to make good stuff, and you don't want them to look at a script and go, "Hi, I've written this film about again back to lesbian Sri Lankans." Go, yeah, we did that whole niche, that whole diversity thing of underrepresented communities, and we tried to shove it down people's throats, and there was a backlash against it, and now we're not making them anymore because it doesn't make money. We don't want to get to a stage like that. That's not where we want to be. We need a nice balance. You know, we want to make good stuff that people want to see. And if it's showing stuff that we don't know about, you know, that's not really seen, and it's done a really good, and if it's done well, and it's not preachy, and it's just good, then fuck yeah, let's have it, baby. But if it's not, stop it. Stop forcing stuff. You can't force someone to love you. Like, it's like Hollywood and the BBC and many organisations have turned into fucking rapists. They're literal rapists. That's the best way to describe them. They're rapists. They're trying to force you to do something you don't want to do. They're like rapey ex-partners who will not let it go, going, you can't force me to love you. They're like stalkers. You can't force someone to love you. You can't force someone to like something. Like, you will like this. You will. It's like, what a rapey thing to do to the public. You can't force people to like this shit. To like the bullshit you're trying to pump into. You can't force people to like it. Just let them find their way. If they're gonna like it, one day they might like it. Just let them. Just leave them be. Let them find their way. You can't hurry love. Oh, you just have to wait. Phil Collins wrote about it. You can't rush these things. You can't force people to love something. Either it happens or it doesn't, and you let it go. You can't, you know, come on. Hollywood, BBC, and the rest of you. Stop trying to rape